criticism of the deck is not that it doesn't do its job well of beating aggro, but the thing is there's tons of decks that can beat aggro pretty consistently, and I just wonder if this Demon Hunter can do anything other than that. And we shall see. Skull on the far left seems like a good way to start, though.
Seems pretty premium. I mean, Immolation Aura doesn't seem bad. I wonder with this deck specifically if you have so much redundancy in your board clear, because you obviously have the Immolation Aura and the Fell Screen Blast and the Talented Arcanist. You also have Fell Barrage as well now. You have Chaos Leech as well as I-Beam. Like, there are so many removal tools that heal you at the same time that I could see the argument for throwing away Immolation Aura. But at the same time, what would you rather have? Like, the deck doesn't do anything in the early turns.
It's true. Generally, when we were playing this matchup, it felt like I was just removing because I had nothing else to do in the early game, and then eventually trying to find Jace and Il'gynoth so I could actually kill the Shaman. Because without those tools, the Demon Hunter is dealing very, very little damage. But they have all the time in the world until Brukan comes online. For Bankyugi, this opening hand is the nuts in an aggressive matchup, but he doesn't really have tools like Earth Elemental to try and punish these types of decks from the Demon Hunter.
And I think it's kind of the hopeless pursuit that you have to engage in this kind of matchup. Like, you know that going, for example, here, Bloom, Feral Spirit, Serpent Shrine, it's not going to stick. It's not going to win you the game. But you have to do something like that anyway. You have to start putting on these high-pressure turns, because if you never do that, they're just going to play through their deck and then kill you later on anyway. So even though it does not necessarily have to be this turn, because he would still end up with one Overload if he did that, it could just be Wandmaker this turn. Sometime in the next few turns, I do want to see a big push onto the board from Bankyugi.
I kind of like it this turn, because if you're just saying they have removal, this is the least likely point that it's going to be exactly Talented Arcanist plus Immolation Aura, which, like, Bankyugi even ended up with a 4 health minion, so it's resistant to that exact combo, and they're not that likely to have it by this point. It is still somewhat a hopeless pursuit, I agree, because when they do have it, they will pretty much regain all of the damage you invested in this early board to get. But on the off chance that they don't get it, sometimes you can win this game. And the Overload works out great for Bankyugi, because only one Overload, you can still play Wandmaker.
No, it was clever, especially as he went for the correct ordering of going for Serpent Shrine first in case he hit something that benefits from spells, I'm going to say, as the potential upside. I can't even think what that would necessarily be, as spell damage obviously doesn't improve with Spirit Wolves, but I'll say he made the correct play.
Shaxy is not even going to bother with the Chaos Strike, which tells me he's looking at either Moarg, Immolation, or double Immolation next turn, and you have to imagine it's Moarg, because Immolation is a great resource here. The Revolve was interesting, but I actually think your minions get smaller on average if you play that. So I like Bankyugi holding onto it. Shaxy gonna make quick work of this board, just looking for something to do next turn, leading up into the Skull. As for Bankyugi, Canal Slogger, not great, but nothing better.
Yeah, nothing better at the moment. He missed, obviously, on the high-value one-cost spells by not getting Guidance or investment opportunity, to draw more Overload spells from his deck. And because of that, Shaxy, as you can see here, will quite happily just keep deleting everything he plays, turn after turn after turn. This is a miserable deck to play against as Quest Shaman. Everything you play gets deleted, but again, you have to keep presenting threats.
Is this delete Demon Hunter after delete Warlock? Which we mean entirely differently from when we say delete Priest.
Yeah, it just makes you delete Hearthstone after you play against it.
Not really. I think it's kind of fun from Shaxy. This is like something different, you know. Shaxy
Agreed.
doesn't often strike gold, I have to say, when he goes for his wacky lineups. And I do think Shaxy, we overlook how well he's been doing because he has just kind of thrown a lot of his good results in the bin with some of the lineups he's brought. But sometimes it works out well. Don't forget, Shaxy's been to 2 finals matches for the World's ticket. Anyway.
Yeah. It has been a decent performance, all things considered, from him. Bankyugi one overload spell away now from getting the quest completion with Brukan, which is a big deal. This might be quick enough from him to actually get there and pile on the pressure and the damage quickly enough, faster than Shaxy can heal it up.
Yeah, Shaxy missing on Fell Scream this entire time means his health has not been as safe as it usually is in this matchup. Wanamaker from Bankyugi. I don't think there's any outs for immediate lethal.
You don't pick the one.
Not that I can think of.
But hey, as long as he gets to Brukan, that's huge. Because he currently didn't have any targets to play Perpetual Flame against, which is kind of awkward. Looks like Bankyugi's just gonna hold on to Lightning Bolt to try and double it up with Brukan. These are terrible, though.
I mean, the Mana Tide is not bad, just to get a bit more draw for when you do play Brukan, but the rest, I agree, are pretty subpar.
Okay. In a weird way, if you are expecting Shaxy to just clear your board next turn and the attack on your minions doesn't matter, then it's kind of good. Because he did get draw, like you said, and also the Satyr somewhat makes Fell Scream Blast awkward because of the positioning. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought.
I think it's okay. And the Beast, I can't think of anything especially good. Maybe King Muckler for an overdraw on your opponent would be the nuts to discard Jace.
What about King Crush?
Oh, now we're talking. Any of the kings, and we're happy.
Anyway, double Fury for sorry, 1 Fury plus the Thalnos Immolation here. Honestly, not the safest health total, but Shaxy did just see a Lightning Bolt, which is a big deal because that's a card that's not post Brukan.
Yeah, I think on average he should be fine here at 9 health.
Okay, well, I think Perpetual Flame needs to get played here because target, yeah?
Yeah.
And then
this one? Yeah, I guess. I was wondering if you can abuse the effect of this Satyr to discount Brukan next turn by playing both your minions. Like, if you miss on the Primordial Protector and don't draw an Elemental, you could play a 0-mana Brukan, which would be pretty sick. But I guess just playing it now achieves very much the same thing.
It's a 7/7 on board.
Yeah, we take this.
And the charge call next turn is looking very juicy. Right now, Shaxy has a lot of combo pieces, but the problem I often ran into when testing this deck was if you don't actually hit Il'gynoth or Jace, you have all this removal, but you don't really accomplish much with it.
Yeah, I wonder if Talon Fordring would fit in this deck, just because it's one of those decks where you have one expensive minion that you have to hit, or you just kind of die. Maybe something to mess around with, Shaxy. But either way, as you were saying, double Charged Call, double Lightning Bolt, double Serpent Shrine. This is already getting kind of close to lethal, to be honest.
It really was, but 2 10 drops, there's the Scrapyard. He's on the second one, but he gets a Deathwing. 10 drops are almost guaranteed to be the nuts. Okay. This is this
oh my god.
I don't know. I
doubt it, right? They're so big. They're so big. He hasn't played either Fell Barrage. I don't think it actually even comes that close.
I think cash in an I-Beam and the 0-cost Fell Scream, and then you go Jace, and the things he gets are I-Beam, Fell Scream, Fury, Chaos Strike, another I-Beam, Chaos Leech. That's not clearing Deathwing, is it? But, I mean, he has to stay alive.
Yeah.
Gonna put damage on the 7/7 instead. Okay.
I don't want to play Fell Scream. Seems like a big deal because it clears all the small minions with one Immolation Aura then.
Yeah, true. But he has played 2 Immolations, to be fair, so...
Yeah, assuming he gets lucky. Wow, these are perfect outcomes so far. My goodness.
I-Beam on... Ooh, he actually did it! What?
No way!
No way!
That was unbelievably lucky. All 3 targets hitting Deathwing. That is insane.
The order on Jace is random, by the way. It works like Yogg, it works like Zul'jin. So it's not in the order you play the cards. You have no way of guaranteeing where all the single target spells hit. But the fact that all the initial single targets hit either the Scrapyard or the Deathwing, and then the Immolation hit, so all the single targets had no other places to go, was absolutely perfect for Shaxy. But he's not out of the woods just yet.
Yeah, not by any means. This Pirate is pretty juicy to gain 3 armor again at the end of his turn. I think you're taking both here, right?
Sure, yeah. I think it's fine to use Perpetual Flame as well to get rid of Jace here. The Lightning Bolt save for face seems a little bit too good.
Okay.
Or are we playing a River Croc? Okay, 2-3-2 sounds a bit better.
Didn't even have to swing. I'd like to report a bug.
No, he has to draw. He has to draw.
Yeah, if he can... Il'gynoth, if he can get that, does that do anything?
It's only 12. With both Fellscream and 1 Moarg.
Right, but he has Fury and swings as well. So if he goes Fellgorger and hits Chaos Strike for 0 mana, he would be able to go Il'gynoth, Fellscream, Moarg, Fury.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that gets him lethal, though, to be honest.
I don't think it's lethal. I'm honestly thinking whether Shaxy just drops the Il'gynoth, Moarg, Fellscream now. There's a chance that the Il'gynoth sticks. He does have to leave 3 points of damage, because then the taunt will be damaged by then on board. But, you know, the Il'gynoth has 8 health now. It's not that easy to get rid of.
Fell Barrage is pretty good for a bit of extra clear potential.
Okay. So he saves the Ilgi swing on board for the next turn. Bear in mind, Shaxy actually went 3-0 with this deck versus Chonsu the other day. He's been doing something with it that we haven't necessarily seen on stream.
You'd hope so. Either way, this is a doubling up on...
Discount?
Wow. On the discounts is huge. On the Primordial Studies, Steward is probably what you're looking at, but I guess Thalnos does a similar thing by just drawing from your deck instead.
Thalnos Vivid looks pretty good to me. Like, Bankyugi never runs out of resources by that point. We can also look at what's left for Bankyugi. He's still got a Lightning Bolt in there, it looks like. So if he gets that other Lightning Bolt, that's just 12 damage on a stick. And the Note Takers, Bankyugi might put together his own OTK if he even needs to worry about getting to it, because Shaxy has to survive till that point.
It's looking like it. I mean, I think, obviously when you kill these minions, 2 copies of each come out, right? Which makes it not impossible, but really difficult to clear off enough of the spell damage and the pressure from the rest of the minions. I still just don't see it.
I think Shaxy's just choosing to ignore the board, which you often do when Druids have played their Soul of the Forest, etc. Yeah. And he's trying to get to, I'd assume, his own Talented Arcanist, which is then still just 18 damage because Il'gynoth costs 6. The maximum you can do is 18 with only 1 discount on a Fellscream Blast. But I really don't see other outs. I think this has to be Sigil Runner to find it.
I grow impatient.
And even looking at what he's got left in deck, again, the deck tracker isn't happy, but Arcanist, Chaos Strike, Chaos Leech.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Now as well.
It discounts the Arcanist. So he does? Okay. Math.
I mean, he has to survive, and he's just kind of dead this turn.
Yeah.
He has a lot of damage.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Shaxy's not supposed to play anything here, hopes he survives. He does not, but he might have had lethal if he survived this turn. I'm not sure.
It was actually a lot, wasn't it? Like, that's 10 on the Chaos Leech, 9, 18. Yeah, I think he would have actually just about had it.
So the skull at the right timing gave him an out, but obviously Bankyugi was not going to let him have it. It was a very risky play, but Shaxy's only avenue to victory, so it made a lot of sense there. But Bankyugi had plenty of damage with the spell damage on board, the Guild Trader in hand, the Diligent Note Taker for even more lightning bolts if he wanted. Shaman just does absurd amounts of burst when it has the Brucon already in play.
It does indeed. And that all came from Bankyugi getting that turbo quest completion, double bloom in your starting hand. It just, it kind of astonishes me every time I see it. I need to rejig my perception of this Shaman because I'm always thinking, you know, right, you dump all your cards at the start with double bloom and then you just, you know, you run out of threats. You just lose out on value. But they always seem to find a way to refill their value through the guidances, through note taker guidance. Even Wand Maker is a very high value outcome with both guidance, investment opportunity, and the primordial studies as well. So maybe that's what I'm missing, trusting in my deck to get there.
Watching this replay still baffles me though.
Nuts. Like Jace even survives. Jace never survives.
And it still wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Too bad. We got to see a decent showing for the opening of this deck, but much to, I guess, no one's real surprise at all, it didn't actually manage to get there at the end. And this was what we were saying, Dark, is maybe the doable matchup for the Demon Hunter. It felt like it could get there, but maybe not against the Turbo Quest completion from the Quest Shaman. But Shaxy's going to queue up the Control Priest now, an old deck with some new toys. Cut out the N'Zoth package in favor of double Pandaren Importer plus double Elec Mount.
And this is a matchup I can see being kind of close because obviously at face value it's a quest deck versus a non-quest deck, and generally with all these quest decks they just outvalue pretty much anyone that you're up against. Aside from like Druid is the only non-high value quest deck. I feel like Priest should be struggling to outvalue them, but then it gets a little bit more complicated than that because this Control Priest is not a pure outvalue control deck. It has a lot of high tempo options. Double Ogremancer, huge in this matchup if they can't find a way to clear it. Elec Mount as well. I don't want it. I want to state as strongly as I can how brutally difficult of a card that is for Shaman to clear if it ever comes down. If they don't hit Devolving Missiles or Hex somehow to be able to clear it off, it's just an absolute nightmare. And so I think for the Priest, although outvaluing them is going to be a difficult task to try and complete, just out-tempoing them in the mid to late game is a real possibility.
And how Priest has changed. But it's pretty cool that you bring up that point. They are still just running Light Shower Elementals. Those are still quite annoying cards to have to deal with. The Scorpids can also sometimes be maneuvered to make it a bit awkward for Shaman here and there. And then you have all these disruption cards. Mutinous still exists. I don't think Bankyugi's going to put himself in a position where his Brucon can get either chomped or Elusia'd. Generally, you want to complete the quest and play those cards immediately, all on the same turn, so that doesn't become a possibility. But sometimes you won't have the choice or the room to maneuver against Priest.
Reasonable if somewhat slow hand for Bankyugi. Holding onto the Wand Thief and the Dungeoneer I do respect, even if they are not necessarily the turbo Lightning Bloom hands that we've come to expect from the best of Shaman hands. On the other side, though, Shaxy, again, a reasonable hand. Insight is a card that essentially disappeared from Priest when it was the Priest-on-Priest metagame because of how bad it was in the mirror. But in this matchup, it feels like it's going to be pretty strong, actually.
Yeah, I can definitely see that putting in some work. Opening choices for Shaxy. Shard of the Naru was given a 4 out of 4 by a lot of card reviewers, but it seemed like there were really no Priest archetypes to support it. I don't think there are that many good silence targets, but it is a tradable card, so if Shaxy just wants to dig through his deck, card draw has traditionally been a bit of a difficult point for Priest, so I don't mind taking it.
Yeah, I could see the silence effect also having some amount of use later on as well. Like, maybe even specifically for Scrapyard Colossus, right? When that almost inevitably comes down later on. Like, just silencing away a 7/7, it could be the difference maker just because it's such a cheap card.
Maybe. I've just forgotten how Hearthstone looked even just a month ago.
Was this broken? Like, was this good?
Another Soul Mirror. That was pretty good. I remember this card.
Imagine 7 mana do nothing. Imagine turn 7. Do you remember?
It exists. Cards have been nerfed. Hey, just regular old business for Bankyugi. Not an especially good 3-drop, but I don't think having max tempo is really how this matchup tends to work for the Shaman. I think the Shaman needs to somehow outvalue Priest, like you were saying, which they can do, doubling up on guidances, etc.
They most certainly can. But here for Shaxy, again, maximum tempo. Call of the Grave? Is that what that is? A pretty spicy new card to get. If we can take a look at that, because it adds some pretty high tempo options to be able to get the the cheap death rattle minions that summon something when it comes down. Some card draw as well. Just a very, very good 1 mana card, and I think buffing the pool from One Maker.
It's also, I think when the card was announced, people were thinking, oh, you can just snipe Light Shower Elemental a lot, and that's pretty good if Shaxy ever needs some healing, but it's going to be a while before he actually meets the condition to trigger the Death Rattle immediately, because you need to have the mana spare. As for Bankyugi, the value is stacking up in his hand. I just don't know the right timing to actually go for any of it.
It is tough, isn't it? I have been mainly focusing on Shaxy's game plan, admittedly, so far this game. But you are absolutely right. It's tough to figure out what you want to save until afterwards as well, because when you have so many overload cards in hand here, if you count the double investment opportunity as well, maybe you want to start saving, Lightning Bolt for post-Brucan. Maybe you want to save the investment opportunities for post-Brucan for more card draw after the fact as well. It's difficult to know how to complete your quest versus prepare for when it is completed.
I certainly think saving the Lightning Bolt is ideal if Bankyugi can help it, and he does have a way to clear Ogremaster just with Canal Slogger and trade his 2-3, which is pretty great for him. The investments, I feel, is a bit more sketchy to save, because I think without using those, he's not going to get to Brucan in the first place for a very long time. What I think Bankyugi really wants is to be able to stack Lightning Bolts with Diligent Note Taker post-Brucan, because that can be a ton of burst all at once. It's a bit weak to Elucia, but maybe you just don't think about that at that point.
Well, I was counting it up, actually, at the end of the last game, and I think even without the minion attacks he had at the end against the OTK Demon Hunter, he had 28 from hand with, +4 spell damage, Lightning Bolt, Note Taker, play it again. It was absurd. Unlikely to happen again, but you are absolutely right. I think that the potential for OTK, or at least, 15 to 20 damage is very real.
Note Taker, but gonna be a while before that really comes online. Again, it is just our speculation that Shaman can outvalue Priest. Maybe not really true if they are still doing the race dead into Scorpion and One Maker stuff, which Shaxy did mostly curate his board to, his race dead pool to just be cards that generate other things. The Pandaren Import are also a pretty cool inclusion in this deck. But I like Bankyugi just making sure he gets rid of the Light Shower Elemental, because we are entering Alec Mount territory. Like you said, if this does manage to stick onto a minion for Shaxy, it needs to be very specific answers from Bankyugi to get rid of, and answers that don't exist in his starting deck.
Yeah, you'd have to be relying on the Wand Makers for devolving, or of course the Eternal Answer in Instructor Fireheart to essentially any board. Mutinous is interesting. I was going to say you just start Call of the Grave, but Bankyugi's a smart guy. He's never going to let Brucan sit in hand for a turn, is he? He's going to play it as soon as the quest is completed.
Yeah, I agree. And it's also worth noting that all of the base minions in the Shaman deck provide value, right? Either draw you more stuff like Primal Dungeoneer, or they generate cards. If you eat a Note Taker, I feel that's a pretty big deal if you are just trying to avoid dying to multiple Lightning Bolt lethals later on. But there is no rush to play the Mutinous. He can hold on a little bit longer. Ends up with Nerubian Egg off of the Call of the Grave. That's not bad.
And then another shard. Okay, He's got a good amount of pressure here. And the Draconic Studies, huge. Love to see that, to be able to try and find maybe Alex Straza, more damage. Ysera for value and damage as well.
Ooh. Are we Tiny Toys gamers? You could play it this turn with the Lightning Bloom. That feels pretty good.
True.
Is that bad to Soul Mirror? Depends on what you get, I guess. But
Did seem okay. Like, again, just you play it for the chance to high roll and get the perfect minions.
I mean, just 5-drop pool, still very good right now. But Bankyugi just gonna deviate and take the Lightning Storm instead, which against Shaxy's current board state makes quite a bit of sense.
Did also hit Lady Vash, which I'm pretty sure is absolutely bananas in this matchup as well. If you can get Vash Prime and then draw Lightning Bolt, or of course the Portal as well, you can be in place to do a lot of damage. Potentially even get that true OTK if the cards fall perfectly your way.
Yeah, I mean, just post Brucan, the Lady Vash into Vash Prime. You can draw 3 spells and maybe just kill them straight away, especially with the Note Taker in hand. But again, we are getting ahead of ourselves. Priest has plenty of ways to disrupt those types of game plans. And already Shaxy has Shard of the Naru ×2 if he wants to just get rid of the Vash Prime from the deck. I mean, because he has 2, I think it's pretty fine. And then he can just take the guaranteed Alec Mount target.
Yeah, it does seem worth it, doesn't it? I was looking at potentially Wave of Apathy instead, just to save some health on your guys. But in the end, I absolutely agree. He realizes that's a big threat. Get it out of the way and don't let them go for any massive burst turns. And then after that, like, this minion is so hard to get through. It's a 4/5 already, which is kind of scary. And then it's even bigger if you kill it.
But this guidance draw is big for Bankyugi. That's what he was really missing. I think the vast majority of the value from this Shaman deck comes from doubling up on guidances. As Sottle said, you never look at the options. You always pick both just to complete quest. And whether or not you get to double the guidance from playing Note Taker or playing it post Brucan, it just gives you so many resources.
And so we need to think about the value of resources in terms of just generating more stuff, versus value in terms of accruing burst damage, because like it could be Note Taker guidance on this turn as he's leading up to, but it could just be like Feral Spirit's Lightning Storm so that you save your high value targets for after Brucan. It's really, really difficult to know how to go about it.
I quite like starting this way because with this many discovers, you are likely to just get something that's good post Brucan anyway. And I think maybe getting down the Brucan immediately as he does this turn is ideal because you want to just complete quest before they can Mutinous and Elucia you.
That's very, very smart. I mean, I guess I was suggesting a play that leaves Brucan in your hand, which is exactly what I was saying you should not do earlier on in the game. So good job, Bankyugi, spotting that one. That's why he's playing, and I'm just talking nonsense.
So Wave of Apathy, Soul Mirror, does that do anything? Or just straight up Soul Mirror can also be considered.
Fortitude's pretty sick. Again, it's a lot of tempo. Oh, but it's already getting to the point where even 2 mana +3/+5, Alec Mount, all these really high tempo plays, they're kind of just not good enough. Shaman is going to start doing such broken stuff in the next few turns. But, I mean, if you're going to have any chance, you have to go now.
I think Shaxy's looking for a Zyrella clear. He did just heal 3 here. Can heal another 2 with the hero power, and then that does 5 AoE. Then he can trade 1 Maker, and then... Okay. I'm guessing the egg couldn't be healed for more than 1 at that point, which is why he healed Bankyugi's face.
Good spot.
Okay. Alex in hand, that's something Bankyugi won't be thinking about if it ever gets to the point that he is being burst down by Shaxy. But this is more wolves than one man could ever dream he needed. Charged Call also looking pretty spicy at the moment, but Overdraft as well because he's overloaded for 4 at the moment. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he can even overload for more, right? By playing something like Feral Spirits this turn. And then, what, point it face? Point it at Zyrella? I don't know. Maybe
I think...
face.
Yeah. I was going to say Zyrella. I don't know. Shaxy looks like he's pretty far off from dying at the moment. And if anyone was wondering, if you play Overdraft post Brucon, it only deals damage the first time.
Yes.
Because you won't be overloaded anymore the second. So
It's not
Overdraft
like a 1-mana
face.
fireball.
True. Overdraft face and then ult it. Okay, looks like he's just going to cash in the lightning bolt now. All right.
Oh, is he pointing at that? Okay, fair.
Damage, gonna pop out a 4/4 and a 4/7. Gets the rabbits. That's pretty good. Did he get it in on time?
Okay. Obviously the positioning a little bit awkward, but he is miles ahead on board now. Obviously a huge Deathwing as well, threatening, if not lethal next turn. A lot of pressure, a lot of damage as well. But again, Shaxy still has answers. It could just be Soul Mirror, and except that you're clearing up some of the board. Could be Wave of Apathy, Soul Mirror, in order to try and get a counter swing going?
Close. I mean, you won't have an answer to the Deathwing by that point, but Bankyugi probably also won't have an answer to the Deathwing.
Yeah.
But you have to imagine Shaxy was saving Soul Mirror for a situation like this. It wasn't nearly quite so dire last turn. Looks like he's just going to go for it. Which means that the Lightning Storm that Bankyugi picked up ages ago is going to come in very handy here.
Yeah, that's pretty clutch, huh?
Deathwing reduced to barely better than a Warmaul challenger at the moment.
Okay, so double Lightning Storm obviously has been changed to deal exactly 3 damage, right? So you can...
Yes.
Clear off a lot of this board and then just go with the charged call.
Bankyugi starting off to see what's in the box. Rabbit is super tempting because post Lightning Storm, it can just take away the Deathwing and the Zyrella all at once.
Do you not just take a Colossus? Like, you clear off everything else and then you can trade into the Zyrella with your remaining 2 ones?
True.
Okay. Or 1/2, sorry.
Oh, is he just not going to Lightning Storm at all then? Interesting. I don't know if the Lightning Storm gets better than this.
Yeah, I guess he was just afraid of the overload effect is the big downside, but it's not that much.
It's 4, right? And double overloads, right?
Yeah. Either way, miles ahead on board here as Shaxy is now more or less forced into going Alexstrasza Holy Smite on the Deathwing. And then I guess silencing away the Death Rattle of the Colossus.
Oh, I hate it, but agreed.
Same.
If he's really feeling desperate, he could trade away his Shard of the Naru for the natural Soul Mirror in his deck because he did play a generated one before.
True. Yeah, that
would be the nuts, but I don't know if it we're that far in the game just yet. Oh?
That even good? I don't think so.
Next turn's probably pretty good. If there is a next turn, however, who knows?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Oh!
Lucia.
Well,
Okay.
he has some mana.
Yeah.
I think he's searching for Perpetual Flame, and he ends up with Lightning Storm instead.
It does give Bankyugi a pretty weak turn, all things considered, but it's still just Alexstrasza that he can play, right? He wasn't overloaded on that previous turn, I don't believe.
I think it's really not so much about giving Bankyugi the worst turn, but just surviving for Shaxy there, which, you know, at the time, clearing off the Deathwing wasn't anywhere near guaranteed surviving because there was still a ton of damage on board. Bankyugi unfazed by the Elucia. And swap back. Value for Bankyugi still actually running a bit dry. He needs good top decks from here because obviously the Sorceress is not going to discover anything. No more quest online.
Yeah.
And Shaxy can just chomp it if he wants.
Probably just the correct play on this turn. Like, everything else is even lower tempo, and it does technically eat some of their value away.
Pretty sad to create a 7-8 into an 8-8, but no real other choice for Shaxy. All the wolves once again for Bankyugi.
And then are you just going face? Like, you don't even have to trade it, right? Let it smack into the wolves instead. I like it.
Bankyugi knows about the Ogremancer.
True.
On reading for Soul Mirror. Is that where we're at again?
Yeah, you could trade first and still do it, I guess.
If you could somehow print a new card called Against All Evens, it would be pretty good here, but not the case.
Even better? Oh no, that would kill the other one still.
Oh yeah. This is not doing it.
Yeah,
Turn into Shadow Priest.
I mean, you pick the mount, you make the biggest Murloc that the world has ever seen, and you pray that gets there.
It's a shark-looking Murloc that is riding an Alec. That's one way to strike terror into the hearts of your opponent. But even this amount of health feels like not that big of a deal for Bankyugi. The Molten Blast deals 4 because it goes twice. Primal Dungeoneer picks him up. You know, almost any spell is insane here.
Lightning Bolt, it's close to just lethal already.
It's 10, if he could point it all face, yeah.
So I guess you do have to start chewing through this Mutinous, which you can do without even attacking in the Deathwing right into the Mutinous itself by just going bolt, trade in, then Molten Blast.
Yeah. The trades, of course, to make room for this Molten Blast. We have to highlight all these cards that are not actually run in the deck because Shaman plays with pretty much every card in their pool with the amount of Discover they get. So, again, the Molten plus the Bolt is 10 damage, so as long as he trades 2 minions in, then he's golden, then he can put the Alex in the Death Rattle 4/7, push another 2 face. Looks good. Oh, Bankyugi is not going to call Shaxy's bluff. He's also safe behind the taunts. Perhaps Bankyugi is just trying to win through burst next turn, but this Hysteria is very interesting.
Yeah, how are we even going with that? Because you can...
On Alex, a lot of the time it kills a lot of things before it dodges.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Gotta be the play. Like, at the worst case scenario, the Alex just bumps into Mutinous and you're fine, I think.
Yeah. Oh. Well, there you go.
He's fine. Obviously not great, but like, that's an 8-8 gone. And he still has a 4/7 under this Mutinous.
I mean, I think it's quite thematic. I would say that... okay, there we go. Instructor Fire. I'll be quiet and we can move on to the big plays because Hex on that Mutinous is huge, of course.
He just doesn't want to give Shaxy the healing, I think.
Wow, okay. Devolving?
Okay, bump the... Yeah. This is illegal. Best Fireheart ever.
Evolving?
Okay, never mind. Not the... Okay, he has 2 tries? Wait. Oh my god. I thought he was about to hit the 1 in 64 for terrible luck.
Bolt face first, right? Bolt face first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's sneak in some extra damage.
Is this just lethal? I don't know how much he's overloaded for.
Yeah, the Alex died, so I don't know if it's quite there, but... Investment as well. It's so close to lethal, and I think it's probably just that little bit too much for Shaxy to come back from. Elec Mount off the top is, I guess, his best draw, which would obviously then refresh his mana as well. Yeah. Maybe off of Scorpid he can get it.
He has a lot of mana to work with this Omu.
Okay. Elec Mount, right?
Yeah?
Oh. He wasn't dead. He could have taunted up and healed.
I guess, but healing to 4, maybe Shaxy just felt like he doesn't get there either. But I mean,
I guess.
Given the amount of effort he put in through that whole game, I would have wanted to see him just to, you know, I don't think he was dead on board, so you should take that whatever tiny % you have. But man, what a game. I haven't seen Hearthstone go on that long in a very long time, and nor have I seen Quest Shaman go head-to-head with the deck that was the premier value generator of last meta, the terror of last meta, because it seemed to be able to fight resource for resource and still end up with 20 more cards in their hand and deck left than you.
It's true. I think one thing to say is I think he did know he was dead because there was Molten Blast in hand that he knew about that would double up 4 damage, right? So fair play to Shaxy there, it was just over. But you're right, it's weird to see Priest so low on value. I think it's partly because he's not running the Sethic Veil Weavers anymore, which was a huge part of Priest's value engine that it got going in the mid game with, you know, you generate a Gift of Luminance, sorry, and then just basically make infinite value from that point onwards, whereas that was not a possibility for him in this game. But it does just show for Shaxy that, you know, he definitely missed his mark with his lineup against Bankyugi because he was hoping for a much more aggressive strategy, which Bankyugi clearly does not have. But it was just looking awful here against the Quest Shaman, just quite clearly the highest value deck in the game right now.
Yeah, definitely feels that way. It's also a bit surprising to me that if you are going to bring Control Priest versus or as your anti-aggro deck, that Samuro doesn't make the cut at all. I know Apotheosis has been nerfed, but it's just like there's not that many ways to heal without that combo actually. So it also, by extent, makes Xyrella less consistent. I still laud Shaxy for putting in the effort he did. I think the turn he found the Xyrella clear was very brilliant. It allowed him to hold on to Soul Mirror, but in the long run, just wasn't enough to get there. And it means that he is going to be queuing up the Mirror now. Quest Shaman Mirror, we did see... have we seen that today yet?
Yeah, we did, right? It was between... Tiz and Give Please, and Tiz just kind of turboed out the game and there wasn't really anything coming back.
Right at the beginning of the day. In terms of differences in the list, I didn't quite catch it, but they look largely similar. Most people running the Canal Sloggers at the top end. People have been experimenting with Doomhammer, with Earth Elemental, but I think most Quest Shaman players, because they're aligning this deck to be anti-aggro, like the extra healing and the removal potential that Canal Slogger provides.
Think it makes a lot of sense. I do have some questions about the queue order here from Shaxy. I think, you know, I haven't played any Control Priest so far this expansion because it's just not really a meta deck on ladder at least, because you're just going to die to all the Warlocks and Mages out there. But even so, I think after a bit of testing, surely you'd come to the conclusion that it's bad against Quest Shaman. Like, maybe that was a really good draw for Bankyugi or a bad draw for Shaxy, but it didn't feel like that, and I would definitely guess that this Quest Shaman is a 50-50, is a better chance.
Yeah, I would think so. It could also be a case of like maybe you won 1 or 2 games where you were like, got him with Elusia Mutinous, but when the deck lists are open and your opponents are 1, Grandmasters who are very good at the game, and 2, have had time to test the matchups, they'll be more aware of when to time their quest completion, when to play Brukan, etc. But it does lead us now to the Mirror, like we were saying. Bankyugi on the coin, I feel, is generally better in this matchup just to have that extra resource in your opening hand. And coin allows you to be much more flexible with your mana, which is important when overload comes into play.
No, that's very, very true. It's just about getting that one big burst turn, like taking advantage of the first activation on the quest chain is, as we've said many times, often the most important step, just because you can get yourself so much tempo and have a strong follow-up due to the deletion of overload along the way. It's a pretty big pickup, though, with the Flame to be able to clear off most of anything that Shaxy can develop.
Insta-flame pick for both players is what I expect. Overdraft is interesting because it can give you like a pseudo second proc of the first quest completion, but it's really hard to maneuver, I find, and more often than not you look for it for lethal outs instead towards the late game. But I feel that the flame is super useful in fighting for early board, especially because both players are not running landslide. It's just so well aligned against the vast majority of minions. The Note Taker, the Zapper, the Feral Spirits. It's really just the Entrapped Sorceress and the Canal Slogger that are out of range.
Yeah, it's the entire deck. Even the 3/3 Elemental that you get from the quest chain as well. It does so well against. Interesting game, as obviously Bankyugi picking up the Lightning Bloom now does look to be pulling into the lead probably in the next few turns, but Shaxy's just got pretty strong plays, all things considered. Like, he's just plodding along, playing powerful minions each turn.
Yeah, it's a decent curve. I have experimented with just trying to win max tempo in this matchup, play the sloggers really early. It doesn't generally work out that way, I feel, because they also have sloggers to heal up, and they're very likely to be able to remove as soon as the sloggers take any amount of damage, because 3 HP breakpoint is super easy for Shaman to deal with. But in this case, Shaxy doesn't really have that much better to do to actually complete his quest, right? So I don't mind playing the sloggers. As for Bankyugi, just a portal here. Flame is valuable and a lot cleaner though.
You could get quest completion on this turn, right? Like, you could go Perpetual Flame, Bloom, Serpent Shrine if he's on 0 out of 3 at the moment. Okay, this is clever. You get next turn by playing Bloom, you discount the old and the new mana crystals, I suppose.
Yeah. Means he has 7 to work with, which is a very relevant breakpoint. He can go Canal plus Serpent Shrine.
True.
Or the Totemic, depending on what the board state looks like. But I think this... Oh, that's even better, right?
The storm is in me.
Looks like he's just holding on to Bloom altogether, which is something you can do in this matchup, is hold on to Bloom for your final quest proc, so you can actually complete quests and play Brucon in the same turn. You usually can't do that.
That's a very good point.
So we could see the Sorceress instead here, or Serpent Shrine Portal Overdraft to spend your mana.
What to do?
Yeah, I wonder if you prepare to play Overdraft next turn. Like, if you go Bloom, Serpent Shrine plus the Sorceress, you go very wide on the board. You're not super vulnerable to Perpetual Flame because you have a 3/4 in play. And then you can play Overdraft next turn to unlock your crystals.
Worth thinking about, but I think if he didn't have the Bloom to start this turn and finish the quest in the first place, he really has it in mind that the Bloom is saved for Brucon turn, is my theory. But this is going to be a pretty clean Perpetual for Shaxy, and he's going to play his own Bloom here to get down Serpent Shrine, you'd have to imagine. Or Canal plus Serpent Shrine, it just works.
Yeah, it looks pretty good, right?
No littering.
Towards completing his own second layer of quest.
That's a 3-drop now.
Yeah, exactly. Back to where it belongs as a 3/4. Probably can't get any value out of that, but still just a good statted body on the 3 mana cost. Now for Bankyugi, again, I'm looking at using that Lightning Bloom just because of how strong it can be with the Overdraft as well on this turn, but I guess the mana is a bit awkward now, actually, given that he can't go Bloom, Canal Slugger, and then the Overdraft.
No littering.
Main Lightning just short of being the absolute turbo nuts there. But yeah, Bankyugi just gonna give up on the save Bloom plan for Brucon because this turn looks a little bit too clean. I really like the value trade. Am I being greedy here? Yeah, maybe that's too weak to Perpetual Flame.
Oh, I wonder if there was something better there. Could you have gone Bloom, then Overdraw to unlock a previous mana crystal, then go for Canal Slugger? I think there was a way to, like, deal 3 damage, get a value trade, and be left with a fairly, like, quite a bit stronger board presence.
Probably. The Overdraft. I mean, he can still use Overdraft next turn.
Yeah.
Fair bit overloaded. Yeah, I mean, it deals 3 right now. It's pretty good. If he had a spell damage minion, again, the Chain Lightning looks so nuts. To go Guidance first, so the Overdraft deals 4 instead.
Oh, do you really start Slugger here? Surely this has to be an Overdraft turn in some way.
Yes, I agree.
You don't pick the ones. See?
Ooh.
Sure, why not?
Good maneuverability.
Yep.
So next turn he's on 7 mana, can get Brukan with the guidance, but I think he wants to save guidance for post Brukan if he can help it. So top decking another cheap overload spell for Bankyugi would be pretty good. As for Shaxy, not gonna lie, I don't know where his quest is at, but looks like it's close. Okay, doesn't want to overload for more than 1 from the flame. Okay.
It's just the last one. Wow. Okay, so Brukan guidance next turn. Like, he has these powerful plays to regain tempo. Bankyugi has the way to actually play Brukan on this turn, though, right? With just straight up guidance.
And he can fit in the overdraft for 2 damage, right?
True. Yep.
I mean, it casts twice, but it really only does 2 damage here to get rid of the Dark Glare. First Brukan is big, but Shaxy is the one who saved the guidance with the Brukan.
Zappa is cheap. Thalnos draws cards.
Yeah, sign me up.
Oh yeah.
I'm dropping it right now as well, I think.
I agree. Yeah. You just want more card draw, right? These spell damage effects I don't think are overly important.
I mean, it's because you kind of know Shaxy's going to play Brukan the next turn that I wanted to see the Thalnos. Otherwise, you might say, I want all the spell damage, so my Chain Lightning is really good the next turn. But I think the Thalnos seemed relatively safe. Wow.
Look at this. This is burst damage, my lord.
Dunk Tank not corrupted, but it's okay.
Very okay.
Any combination that lets him just win from hand next turn?
I mean, he's not going to have mana unless he picks up Lightning Bloom, but
I think you take just
take
Dunk Tank here. Yeah, no need to overload from here. The Reflection's not doing very much.
Agreed.
No more way to corrupt Dunk Tank, I believe. Charged call? Yes, sir. Lightning Bolt is just short of dealing with Brukan, so probably hold on to it, yeah.
Oh, there's the Note Taker. There's so much burst damage here. He just doesn't have the Lightning Bolt to go alongside it.
Yeah. But you know what? Charged call, one of these cheap minions, Vivid Spores, trade Brukan, and then it doubles itself. That sounds powerful.
I'm gonna start Thalnos for the full 2 mana discount. Never mind.
Would you repeat that?
Okay. Yeah, here we go. Charged call. Oh my gosh, this Vivid Spores is so gross! Get out of here!
Over. Giga over.
Can Shaxy get there if he generates Overdraft or something? Just like from hand? That does nothing. No more quest. Is this Fireheart?
So.
Okay, if the charge call generates double bunny, that's not enough. There's just too many minions with Death Rattle.
I think board space becomes an issue though, right? Because they each summon 2, and the Diligent Note Taker was played first, so that would Death Rattle first, right? So there would be 3 7/7s left over at the end, right? That you could then maybe rush into.
I don't think that works. Even if he doesn't get full board clear, it's just not a full clear, right? So he's kind of dead. So my thinking is Shaxy gets like Lightning Bolt here. He already missed into another Lightning Bolt into like an Overdraft, something like that from the Fireheart. I think that was his out.
He's got Landslide for 4 AoE, and then he could go Perpetual Flame, which would have cleared quite a lot actually.
True.
4 damage and an adjacent one. Target the one on the end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it clears enough, right? Because like these Death Rattles generate more Death Rattles, so
yeah.
I don't blame Shaxy at all for just trying to look for lethal here. Cube Shaman, guys, play it. It's pretty good.
Not even close. Bankyugi, my man, what a sick series. Another 3-0. 3 out of 4 series went 3-0 today, and Surrenders only went 3-1 before he was able to take the win over Glory. And this Quest Shaman, I went from a denier at the start of the day. I'm a believer, man. I've seen the light. This deck just seems busted in this meta. All these anti-aggro decks that people are playing are just being completely outvalued by Shaman.
I'm really glad that somebody has joined my team, because for anybody who didn't know, yesterday during the casters testing session we do every week, when we were figuring out what decks to test, I was like, let's play Quest Shaman, it's so fun, it's one of my favorite decks this meta, and everybody's like, no, it's so lame, it's not fun. And I was like, this deck has lethal puzzles and you can generate cards, and I was completely talked over. Nobody believed me, but I think Derek has now joined the Quest Shaman train alongside Bankyugi leading the way.
I mean, I just thought at this point in our casting duo, it would make sense for me to actually listen to anything you say, so I thought I'd just carry on ignoring you, as I seem to do so well whenever we cast. But yes, very well done to Bankyugi. He is going to be going on to play tomorrow in our quarterfinal match. This lineup looking pretty good. I'll be interested to see how it lines up against the rest of the field, though, however, because him and Shaxy both had similarly anti-aggro, I suppose I would say, strategies with both Delete Warlock and Control Priest. I think it'd be in a great spot against the more aggressive lineups, and in a tough spot against the likes of the players who bring Mage, who maybe bring OTK Demon Hunter, and of course the Warlock, which I'm sure he will continue to ban away. But there's our bracket for the top 8. We have Alutemu, of course, back in Possessi, this time making an appearance as he tries to back up his World Championship qualifying spot. It's going to be a good day of Hearthstone.
Absolutely will be. I haven't taken a look at all of the lineups from the players who did go 2-0, but I have to